anything we do should have flexibility. And if you do steps, there's no flexibility with steps.
That's why I said what I said. This is not a good time.
All right, can everyone please take your seats? I'm just going to take a moment to read into the record policy KD about public hearings. Persons desiring to speak at such public hearings should register through the office prior to the date of the meeting or register at the location. If anyone who is here right now has not signed up, I have a preliminary list. Please go ahead and sign up, and staff will bring it up to me and we'll recognize you. Persons speaking as individuals will be allotted 3 minutes. Those representing an organization will be allotted 5 minutes. No presenter may waive all or a portion of his or her allotted time to permit someone who is not properly registered to speak. Public hearings shall be for a period of up to 2.5 hours. After 2.5 hours of testimony, the superintendent will announce that the hearing will be continued at a later date. We're hoping that if you're speaking with us this evening that you brought some copies, at least 9 copies of your testimony. And Mrs. Chekovic, who is sitting to my left with the pink jacket, please hand those copies to her. She is recording the minutes of the hearing tonight. A public hearing is intended to provide the public with an opportunity to share their ideas, reactions, and support concerning the announced budget topic, which is the 2016 fiscal year budget, operating budget. Board of Education members and/or the superintendent will only be recognized by the presiding officer to correct misinformation or to add context to the information that the speaker may not have provided, or to ask for clarification. Following a speaker's presentation, the superintendent may designate a staff member to address that individual's concern or may ask the speaker to contact a particular department or particular staff member. All right, that is the end of the policy. I will call your name as you've signed in. Come to the front and you'll see an iPad there that will help you with your timing. The audience can see the timer also on the various screens. So with that, we will begin with Taylor Giles. Is Taylor with us? I'll come back around again. A Journey Walker Martinez. I will come back around at the end. A James Knodel? Canode? I knew I was going to blow that one. I'm so sorry.
I get it all the time.
Do you really? Okay, thank you. Welcome, sir.
Hello. I apologize for not bringing anything to hand out to you.
Nope, that's fine.
Okay. My name is James Knodel. I'm a social studies teacher at Williamsport High School. I'm here as an individual. Am I supposed to hit start? Okay. Didn't want to go over my time. I'm just here because I understand the board is in a tough place as far as funding this year. But I really want you to think about your teachers when you're looking at the budget and adopting the budget. Dr. Hardings, you say, what is priority? Your teachers are priority. They are your institution. They meet the students at the door. They are the ones in the trenches with the students. They're the ones working with them with park testing this week. They're the ones preparing them for testing. I also want to point out a lot of requirements in the past 9 years I've become a teacher have been passed on to teachers, such as preparing for the Danielson evaluation. On average, from the teachers in my building, they're spending 6 to 8 hours preparing artifacts for all the different categories for Danielson. Monetary-wise, we're not compensated for that. time-wise, we're not giving the time for that. More and more, I'm seeing time in my building taken away from me as far as planning. I'll give you an example. In my building, I have 3 preps. That means I get 19 minutes of planning per day per prep. I cannot possibly get all the planning, grading, get the grades in the grade book, parent communication, contact counselors, any of that stuff, and do it and feel like I did a really good job with it unless I take it home. And I'm consistently taking work home every weekend, planning, grading, contacting parents. Even on the snow day Thursday, I was emailing back and forth with parents about National History Day. So my day really never ends. I'm constantly looking at what I need to add to my classroom, reassessing. And I guess in a way, when I look at what was in the newspaper last Tuesday about the budget and so forth, I was really shocked when I was seeing that, there was talk about not even giving my salary scale bump. I mean, when I look at my WCTA contract and I look at what I should be making for next year, that's not because, it's a raise. It's because I worked for the county for another year. I went from step 9 to step 10. And, I'm depending on that. My family's depending on that. Not a one-time bonus. It's one of those things that I feel like really needs to be looked at. In all honesty, try to be worked. And if it means going to the county for the county commissioners for that extra money, then that's what we should do.
Very good.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Next on the list, Neil Becker. Welcome.
Hello. How's it going?
It's a great evening. Thank you.
I guess I'm speaking as an association person, just in case I need those extra 2 minutes. But I'll try to keep to script, so to speak. I prepared some stuff to keep us moving. Thank you to the Board of Education for the opportunity to share my ideas regarding the budget. For the record, again, my name is Neil Becker. I wear a few hats as I speak to you tonight. I'm Vice President of the Washington County Teachers Association. I'm a teacher. I'm a resident of Washington County. Finally, I'm the proud father of 3 young ladies who attend Washington County Public Schools. All 3 first-place DI on Saturday, by the way. Though I recognize the need to budget reasonably and reduce waste, the draft budget includes some drastic cuts, including cuts to staffing in the salary pool. In fact, the elected board cut even more deeply than the superintendent's original draft. Such cuts are not prudent when negotiated salary scales are already established for the coming years. While Washington County Public Schools is unclear about what it will fund, yesterday Winchester School Superintendent Mark Lineberg said, "I think the big thing with budgeting is the budget needs to reflect our priorities." His priorities include obtaining a grant to fund technology, and he would love to see an increase in compensation for his employees. The 2016 WCPS belt tightening follows years that included the purchase and renovations of this building that topped out at $12, $13 million with all the labor costs from board employees. I don't know what that number really is. Now the unwarranted austerity is pitting class size versus technology and leaky roofs versus compensation. The board didn't balk at spending $5 or $7 million in renovations to CES, yet now we're in financial distress. Finally, as a teacher, as a citizen, as an association member, I'm willing to support the board if it opts to request money above maintenance of effort. According to an article posted on yourforstate.com, Frederick County Public Schools is asking for roughly $20 million more than the state-mandated maintenance of effort requirement for fiscal 2016 budget. The Carroll County Times reports that Carroll County Public Schools is requesting an additional $2.3 million from the county compared to what the superintendent had budgeted. I don't know if WCPS needs $20 million or $2 million, but it's clear that the existing budget does not fully fund the school system. If the board does not ask for funding, it's certain the county commissioners are not going to provide the funding. As was stated earlier, we asked, they offered it. Students deserve the best education possible, which includes technology, personnel, and top-notch facilities. If the only way to achieve that is through funding above maintenance of effort, then the board should travel that road. Again, thanks for the opportunity to share my thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. Next, we have Denise Frei.
Well, unlike Neil, I am speaking on behalf of the association. So I'm assuming that we're resetting this. Thank you.
You're at 5.
Give me a second here. Embracing technology. And as I do embrace the technology, I forgot my 9 copies, but I just sent you a copy.
Wonderful.
So they were sent electronically. Good evening, President Brightman, Dr. Wilcox, members of the board. A sidebar, I did not edit this for grammar, so please be kind, those of you who review it, and as I just found a typo. My name is Denise Frei. I am president of the Washington County Teachers Association. I wish I could start this evening by stating that I am in complete support of your draft budget for FY16, but unfortunately I cannot. While I understand the economies currently at play at the state level and the resulting impact upon the budget you are reviewing, the funding dollars you are requesting do not meet the true needs of our school system. Your budget is austere, reflects a tightening of the belt, and shows modest increases where needed, but does not account for new initiatives, does not provide a reasonable salary pool, nor does it position our schools to receive the needed resources to maintain our academic competitiveness, not just in our western region, but throughout the state of Maryland. A failure at this point in time to address the true needs of our system will only position us to fall further behind, as funding resources from the state, as has been shared previously this evening, continue to tighten under the fiscal leadership of Governor Hogan. We support the recommendations from the Budget Advocacy and Review Committee to request a shifting of the funding of the school resource officers and the school crossing guards back to the county, but would encourage you to also revisit the need to ask for funding above maintenance of effort in order to address the true needs of our system. The association I request is committed to supporting you fully in this ask, to join with you and members of our school community to advocate for the funds necessary to allow our system to continue to provide for quality schools, quality instruction, continued student achievement, and to assure our schools and students are prepared to meet the challenges of the 21st century. As I wrap up my thoughts this evening, I would be remiss if I didn't share a growing concern that the system is approaching the point of balancing its budget on the backs of its employees. Each year our system hires new teachers, new paraeducators, new bus drivers, new administrators, new employees in general, and commits the financial and personnel resources to providing a sound induction, nurturing the development and growth of its new employees. Retaining our effective educators must be a system priority. You have and continue to show an investment in your employees by providing a solid induction process. I encourage you to continue in your investment by creating an adequate salary resource pool that reflects your continuing commitment to the students of our system, to the quality of their education, and that validates the hard work and dedication of your 3,000 plus employees. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I do have one, maybe two additional comments, and I have 1:16 left, so I'm going to share them. In response to a comment that Dr. Harding made, I would suggest that perhaps relook at the system's OPEB commitment as a possible source of additional revenue. I know that we have looked at that before, but perhaps Mr. South could at some point provide you an understanding of where we are in comparison to other counties around the state, and are we healthy in that avenue? Because that is a serious price tag that you are committing. And the one other comment I will make is that I know that Mr. Ridenhour is aware of this, but the county at one point covered buses, and it wasn't an ask that you had to make when budgets were short. So, thank you for this time this evening. I appreciate it.
Mrs. Frei, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Stan Stauffer.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Stauffer.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. President Brightman, Vice President Harding, board members, Dr. Wilcox, and fellow citizens of Washington County. I want to emphasize that I speak for myself tonight simply as a citizen of Washington County. It was gratifying to hear Mr. Hummel's comments that the Budget Committee was recommending that any savings that could be found by switching some costs possibly to the Board of County Commissioners be added to the salary pool to bring that up to $1 million. And so I definitely applaud that. I would tell you this, that more and more is being asked of employees of Washington County Schools. I know teachers are being asked more. I know because I live with one, and I get a daily report every day as to some of the travails that have happened during the day with new initiatives and so forth. I also believe that ESP employees are being asked more and more. And I want to say this, that when I was the athletic director at Williamsport High School, I couldn't have done my job without the custodial staff, the secretaries who assisted me in that job. It was somewhat disconcerting to read in the March 4th Herald Mail Dr. Wilcox's statement. The remaining $561,000 is not enough for step increases or other salary enhancements for employees, although such increases would be well-deserved. And I would agree with Dr. Wilcox that those increases would be well-deserved. I mean, this system has hundreds of dedicated, industrious, knowledgeable employees who give of themselves daily above and beyond what is expected of them. And I think everyone sitting up there knows that our teachers and our employees do that. And I realize all the influences on this, in creating this budget. The idea of recurring versus non-recurring costs and so forth, and the poverty level. I know about the poverty level. When I was the AD at Williamsport High School, we had a lot of kids who had to get help paying the athletic fee from the athletic boosters because we had a poverty rate of over 40%. I just forget what it is. I've been retired for 3 years. I don't remember that. So I think we need to plan in future budgets for employee raises. I think to do so would help with recruitment, it would help retention, and I think it would help with overall morale of employees in the system. We also, I think, need to work diligently with county commissioners and delegates and representatives, senators in Annapolis to fix what many have said, as I read online and read about this and try to educate myself, the broken state maintenance of effort law. So I respectfully request that the BOE in this year's proposed budget find a way to reward our dedicated employees to a greater extent than is currently anticipated, and to work with the Board of County Commissioners to see that employees are compensated fairly and the BOE budget funded properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Next, we have Becky Higgins. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Becky Higgins Airy. I'm speaking as an individual, while though my comments have been gathered around the watering hole or the watering fountain, so to speak, from North Hagerstown High School. I'm a national board certified teacher, been in the county for 20 years. Let me just share some of the comments that some of my colleagues have made over the last couple months, and maybe even 12 months or so. Comment number one, our superintendent has gotten a generous raise. I think I deserve a raise. We have an impressive new CES building. It makes us feel like professionals. I'm sure it cost a lot of money to be purchased, renovated, costed out for maintenance. Was there any forethought at the time about whether or not we should be planning also about salaries? We knew that would be coming up. I feel like over the past few years, I've been working for free. Is it really a good time to be instilling or working toward the technology initiative that costs so much money when I haven't received a significant raise for years? I get only $50 a year for my classroom supplies, and this year my administration has threatened over and over that I'm going to have to pay for paper. I haven't heard anything about the virtual high school in a while. Is it still here? How much has that cost our system? We've had a lot of retirees, meaning that there has been money in attrition. Haven't we saved some money there? What has happened to that? Just a few of the comments, maybe perceptions that have been in my building over the last months. If I were to try to synthesize all those comments into one overall thought, the question is about allocation of funding. Forethought given over the years that, hey, we're going to pay we need to pay our employees someday. What's the plan for that? We would ask that you do what you can, but definitely ask for more money. We don't ask, we're certainly not going to get it, and we certainly don't suggest that we need the money to pay our employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Matt Harsh. Welcome.
Start me. Good evening. My name is Matt Harsh, and I live out in Smithsburg on Edgemont Road. I'm not an employee of the school system. I'm actually a farmer. I'm here to speak as a parent of two students in Washington County school system right now. Specifically, the item I would like to talk about relates to the budget and what appears to me to be an inconsistency between communication from the school system and some of the budget priorities in relation to classroom size at the lower grades. I have two children that are at Cascade Elementary. My son is in a class of 28 right now in kindergarten. When I look at the kindergarten line items in this budget, they're all being cut for proposed FY16. There are actually reductions in kindergarten there everywhere. I don't know about situations at other classrooms and other schools around the county. My fear is that our experience with 28 in kindergarten is not unique, that there are other classrooms around the county that are like that. I've seen articles in the paper, I've heard communication from the system about a concern of these large classes at the lower grades, but yet I'm not necessarily seeing anything in the budget that reflects that concern. Our situation up at Cascade was created by a teacher that resigned at the beginning of the 2013 school year, and two kindergarten classes were combined. And I think there was an assumption that that situation would be remedied for 2014, and it wasn't. When we went to back to school night, all of a sudden there were 25 kids on the roster. New people moved into the class. It's gone to 28. At one point, it looked like it would go to 30. One child is left, and another child was going to that was to come never eventuated, but that's a pretty big classroom. Mary Cordell is probably the best teacher in the world. She does something every day that I could never do, wrangling 28 little minds like that. But it seems to me that if there is to be some money freed up, whether it's through moving these non-core positions of school resource officers and crossing guards, moving that money off to the county. If there are going to be 5 positions created, it would be great to see one of those come up to Cascade. I've had a chance to look through the budget. I'm happy to submit some ideas by looking through some of the line items of things that I think, obviously I'm not a school board member, but of things that I see that could possibly maybe be things that could be looked at. And if it's okay, I'll summarize my my comments and submit some of those things by email, so I'm not taking up any more of your time this evening. Is that all right?
Thank you, Mr. Hirsch.
Thank you.
James Bowers. Welcome.
28 kindergartners.
I'll be speaking on behalf of the Washington County ESP.
Okay, 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not going to need that, but good evening, Dr. Wilcox, board. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Jimmy Bowers, born and raised here in Washington County, and I'm a product of this
Mr.
fine.
Bowers, could you speak? Thank you.
Okay. How much didn't you catch? Want me to start from the top? Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Jimmy Bowers. I'm born and raised here in Washington County and a product of this public school system. I'm a locksmith for Washington County Public Schools and also the vice president of Washington County ESP. The Washington County ESP represents over 450 hardworking and dedicated support professionals in our school system. The members of our organization have very serious concerns with the school system's budget. The current budget does not contain an adequate enhancement to our employee compensation structure. The school board has clearly not made their employees a priority this year. Let me tell you the reality some of our ESP staff currently face as full-time employee with the school system. We currently pay our paraprofessionals a starting salary of just over $20,500 a year. The 2015 federal guidelines set the poverty wage for a single parent with 2 children just above $20,000 a year. To be clear, that same staff we trust to serve some of our most needy and at-risk students, we pay them poverty wages. That doesn't include our custodians, who we trust to keep our schools safe and clean for our children, who we pay even less. And that does not include our food service professionals, who we trust to prepare our safe and nutritious meals for our children, who we pay even less than the custodians. Many of our support staff take on second and even third jobs to make ends meet. It's not a matter of our staff working harder or budgeting their finances better. We're simply not paying all of our support staff a living wage. Education support professionals are proud of the work they do. We are held to high standards by this community, and we proudly reach those expectations every day. Working in our school system is not just a job for us, it's our career. When a student is being bullied on a bus, it's a member of the transportation team that intervenes. When a child becomes ill, it's a school nurse that provides medical care. During the recent snowstorms, it was our dedicated maintenance staff out plowing parking lots at all hours of the night and morning, and custodians out working 24-hour shifts, cleaning sidewalks, doing building checks to ensure that the pipes don't freeze. They did this without the expectation of praise or reward. All we asked is to be treated fairly. If this all sounds very personal to us, it's because it is. An educator's priority should be working with and for our students, not worrying about scraping enough money together each month to simply pay the bills. We feel it is only right that the Board of Ed re-examine the budget and make a living wage for its educators a priority. The Washington County staff deserves to be treated fairly and with respect. If we do want what is best for our students, then we need to make sure we compensate and retain the very educators they depend on. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Bowers. Next is Jolene. Welcome.
Thank you. Let's see, my name is Joe Lane, and I live in Smithsburg, and I teach at Smithsburg High School, and my son's at HCC, and he graduated Smithsburg High School. My daughter's at the middle school, and I'm pretty embedded into all this. So, let's see, my career has kind of coincided with Washington County Schools, what I would say almost meteoric rise to the top of the heap. We're the top school system in one of the top states in the country. And Smithsburg happens to be a blue ribbon school too, but I don't want to brag. But anyhow, it's an excellent school system, top to bottom. And we didn't. And how did we get there? Now, during the previous, when I entered the system, Thornton hadn't happened yet, and the Board of County Commissioners at that time was relatively progressive-minded, and the forces coincided to create funding. Teacher pay went up, class sizes were down, 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 and that was an explicit focus to get us to the point of being a top-notch school system. Is we provided the service to meet all the goals of No Child Left Behind, and no kids really get left behind in this system at this point. We did an excellent job with that, and they were laser focused on getting class sizes down, especially in the assessed classes, and it worked. And we end up a top school system. And that's what you all inherited as in your tenure here as superintendent and the board. You've come in and taken over a top system. And I want it to stay that way. Now, you all know I'm not shy about calling you at home if I have something that I think is important. And I've talked to you all about this maintenance of effort thing for years and years now, that you need to ask for the money. And I've been getting the same song and dance, oh, we got a relationship with the commissioners. We don't want to jeopardize that by being, publicly discordant with them or anything. And I think it's time to say that doesn't work. Okay, we're here and we've been on maintenance of effort for how long? So you need to ask for money. I've been to numerous public hearings where the commissioners approve overloading our schools, and the board refuses to say anything publicly about this. And now you want to have funding authority to do an end around asking the commissioners for what they should be funding, which is any school or initiative that you want. That should be the commissioners funding that, and you should ask them and they should do it. And so this board and the previous board have failed us greatly in not being aggressively asking the commissioners, demanding that they actually maintain our top-notch school system. That's your job. You're advocates for the school system. You're not looking out for the commissioner's budget. That's their job. So I want you to be advocates for the school system. And where's the money? I'll tell you exactly where the money is, the airport. Okay, this county has spent $30 million to get the airport up and running, right? And they claim it's a giant economic engine success. Fine, let's take them at their word. Then why does it need an ongoing $2 million a year subsidy that's in their budget this year, last year, next year? They didn't even hardly reduce that. They got a $20,000 reduction. So it could go either way. It's either an economic engine like they claim, therefore it doesn't need the subsidy, or we've spent $30 million and it still doesn't work, and they need to abandon that $2 million and give it to the school system. So that's where the money is. Get it from the airport funding. They don't need that money if it's a success like they claim. And if it's not a success, then we need to abandon that thing. So anyhow, I gave you a place to find the money and my suggestions.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. We're going to go back to the top of the list to see if these individuals have arrived. A Taylor Giles, a Journey Walker Martinez, and since we have some time, is there anyone here that would like to share with us this evening that hasn't already shared? We don't get a second go-around. Yes, ma'am. Please come up and identify yourself.
Good evening. I'm Robin Popp. I am the math department leader at Clear Spring High School, and I am the mother of 2 children at Clear Spring Elementary School. I won't need 3 minutes. My main concern is what I think everyone has said here tonight. Teachers feel underappreciated, we're taken for granted, and we're just piled more and more and more on top of us of things we have to do. I'll tell you one place you can get the money back: drop Agile Mind. I'm a math teacher at Clear Spring High School. Agile Mind is not working. It has been a drain on the school system. It has been a lost year for a lot of kids. We have struggled to fulfill that in the way that it was intended. And I think it was I don't have a dollar amount, you'll know that. That was a lot of money. And it could be an ongoing, exorbitant amount of money. I'm concerned that we are not moving in the right direction. I believe Joe Lane is exactly right. We were a top school system in Maryland, and I don't feel like we are still attaining that. And I think a lot of that is teachers are burdened, and we are taken for granted in the amount of responsibility we have. And I think it's deplorable that ESP people are living below $20,000 when I think we know where $30,000 of that goes. Funding maybe a retirement account that the rest of us don't have any. I don't get matching into my retirement accounts. I just think we need to shift the focus back to what's important. It's teachers. Computers aren't going to teach your kids. Teachers do the instructing. And I think you need to value us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else new that would like to come forward? Yes, sir.
So my name's John Hall, and I'm a parent. That's all. I don't represent anybody. I'm not a teacher, don't live with a teacher, never have, never will.
Good for you.
However, I do have 2 little boys, and I guess if I'm representative of anybody, it's probably them.
Absolutely.
Now, I look at the budget, I read the papers, I listen to everybody, and there are a lot of really great points back here, but I just wanted to make sure that you had the perspective of somebody who has absolutely no self-interest in this other than his kids. Now, my kids go to elementary school here. Their class size, like he said, is in the upper 20s for the average class size. My wife is on the parent-teacher organization, and so she tells me this, and I take her for her word. But upper 20s, that's a lot of kids. Now, I've got 2 boys, and sometimes I have a hard time keeping them in line at home. I can only imagine upper 20s in a classroom for 6.5 hours a day trying to keep them in line. The idea of having more children per classroom is a really hard thing to wrap my mind around. I mean, really hard. When you go in the school, it's like the ladies just said, it's not the computers that teach kids. And I know there are all these technological initiatives, and sure, as far as the world is going, that is a huge thing because the future is technology, and that's great. But computers don't teach kids. Teachers do. Everybody knows that. When you think back to your school days, back when you were younger, what do you think about? You think about your friends and, oh my goodness, those teachers. And then, you know, at the time it wasn't so great, but then as you get older, you think, wow, I'm glad I had that one teacher or those teachers because they really changed my life. Maybe some of them weren't great, and maybe some of them were better than others, but you know what? They were there. They were there, and that is what made the difference. Now, I'm not going to go on and on. I know I've got a minute left here. You've heard it all. They've said it all. But I just wanted to make sure that you had the perspective of somebody with no self-interest other than his kids. The teachers are what is important in the school because they are the ones teaching the kids, and class size is so important. And without the teachers, that class size goes up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am?
Good evening. I don't think it's working. Okay. My name is Kristin Kim, and I have 4 children currently in Washington County Public Schools. And I'd like to tag on one point to what Robin Papa just discussed, which was Agile Mind. So I have 2 children at North Hagerstown High School that came into 9th grade taking Algebra 2 and pre-calculus, and I have a 10th grader in calculus right now. I have an 8th grader who's currently in algebra, is passing, and does not fundamentally understand the concepts because of Agile Mind. As a result of this, I am going to have her audit Algebra 1 next year for no credit, because algebra is absolutely the fundamental building blocks of every higher order math. It is the equivalent of learning to add and subtract. If you cannot add and subtract, you cannot multiply, divide, do fractions, decimals, percentages. And so as a result, she's going to lose a year of instruction because of using Agile Mind. As far as the technology initiative goes, I fully embrace technology, and I think it's a tremendous way to engage students where they are. But my concern is that teachers and instructors are not properly being trained on what the technology can do for them and how it can be successfully implemented into the classroom. So when we bring these things on, I would like to make sure that we're building capacity into the system so that our instructors are properly being trained on how to then explain it and utilize it and implement it in the classroom with the students. I don't think providing everybody with a mini laptop so that they can do a PowerPoint at their desk is the equivalent of being technologically advanced. The other 2 points that I'd like to quickly make are when we pick out programs, I would really request and implore that we use evidence-based practices to inform the decisions before we spend the money to bring these new programs into play. It seems to me that there's the Charlotte Danielson model. A couple years ago it was Ruby Payne, and there is kind of this constant shift where teachers are being told, okay, we're going to follow Ruby Payne, and then it's Charlotte Danielson, and then the next new person, fad, whatever you want to call it, comes along, but we don't have longitudinal data to necessarily support that that's the best thing for our students or for our teachers. So I would just ask that when we're making these decisions, we are looking at the long term, and we are looking at evidence base for these programs that we're implementing. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more hands going up? Very good. I appreciate everyone taking time out of their busy day to be here. Again, to the BARC committee, thank you, Mr. Hummel, for your, and the committee for all of your work. We truly appreciate your voices. I think you all acknowledge that this is a challenging budget for us. And we're here to try to represent all aspects of our organization. So to let you know the next steps, we do have another work session on March 17th. We haven't decided as a board whether we'll be heading in that direction. But again, we are, as a board, will be taking the minutes that are recorded tonight, our own personal notes, and having a discussion about what you've contributed tonight. So again, appreciate everything you've said. It will be taken into consideration, and we will be moving forward with the budget process. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you.